They want to weaponize and interfere with our elections through the use of the DOJ, the FBI, and local attorney generals and district attorneys. That's happening to me, but we're doing very well, thank you.
And that was President Trump on fire yesterday at the NRA conference. The former president was back in New York also this week, appearing for a deposition concerning a $250 million fraud lawsuit. Trump reportedly was asked and also answered questions for about 7 long hours, this time about the company's business practices. And get this, on Monday, the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee will turn the tables on New York DA Alvin Bragg and have witnesses testify about his track record on repeat offenders and crime in the Big Apple. And let's bring in now former New York City mayor and also former attorney for President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and also our special guest, who's economist and also senior naval intel officer and a great attorney as well, John Jordan, who's going to be with us for the next 2 hours. Rudy, let me start with you, because before we get into the Trump investigations, I just got to get your take about the leaked Pentagon documents. You know, Democrats previously made a big deal, of course, about the documents at Mar-a-Lago. And yet it's interesting. The president, when he's been asked about this, has basically said he's not really concerned. That is stunning, Rudy. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, that statement is a statement which you'd have to put with about 4 or 5 others that he's made in Ireland. That indicates to me that he is much more seriously demented than he has been before. And I mean that as a medical term. I spent a lot of time studying it. I've been doing podcasts about it for 2.5 years with doctors. That statement is absurd, right? First of all, his administration has been telling us how dangerous this is and how bad it is. There was one administration official who said people could die as a result of this. When you look at what was leaked, just the little bit that we know about, right? It's devastating stuff about Ukraine tactics, about their vulnerabilities in the air, very, very nasty things about our allies that they're not going to want to see. I mean, they're things that concern me when I actually read them about Mossad. And what Mossad seems to be doing with regard to its government, as well as the whole situation with Egypt. Egypt was going to sell arms to Russia, except they were afraid they're going to get caught. I mean, I'm just giving you a few things that I know about that come out of this.
So is that sort of par for the course, Rudy, too? You know, when we're hearing all this rhetoric, does that really concern you that the president just seems lax? A lot of people are saying that's sort of the way he's handling the border, too, and the spy balloon and so many of these things, Rudy.
It could be, but what it indicates is a man who doesn't have a sound mind. I mean, you can't be a man of sound mind and constantly dismiss these things as, oh, it was just contemporary nothing. Well, I don't know. The plans of Ukraine in the war are not nothing. Embarrassing leaks on your allies who trust you to keep that information secret, and that's why they give it to you. Usually, what results about something like this, when I've worked in intelligence for 3 years during the Cold War. Usually, what results is a paucity of information for some time. And plus, they want an excuse to sort of back out of Ukraine, back out of helping us. We sure gave them one.
Yeah, you're right. No, there is so much. Let me go real quick to John Jordan. John, your thoughts also on this.
Well, you see the administration go real hard on politics, but they're not interested in policy or the safety of this country. You saw Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday go hard after Governor DeSantis and Florida Republicans. They don't have the same level of energy and interest in policy and the safety of Americans that they do in the pursuit and retention of power. This administration cares about politics and retaining power and winning elections and shaping a narrative far more than they care about the safety of Americans or men and women in uniform.
And by the way, speaking of the safety of Americans, Rudy, I want to also talk about what's going to be coming up this week. You know all too well, you, I think, were the greatest mayor in New York. You know, your track record is incredible. And this week, we are going to see, I think it's going to be extraordinary, Jim Jordan, the Judiciary Committee, they're going to hold hearings in New York City and basically talk about Alvin Bragg and his record on fighting crime and going after repeat offenders or lack thereof. Your thoughts of what we're going to see this week? It's going to start on Monday.
Well, if they reveal it correctly, and they get the cooperation they deserve, you will reveal an astonishing situation. Unfortunately, not unique to New York, but existing in 50 other Soros-purchased cities. Basically, the district attorney does not work for the people. He works for George Soros and George Soros' concept of one world, which includes creating chaos in inner America, meaning crime, because that's the only explanation for why I would say, Rita, and I probably know as much or more about New York crime as anyone, and I'm the only one to ever have reduced it substantially by a lot.
And by the way, Rudy, don't you think it's going to be gripping? Because they're going to hear from these witnesses, too, like Jose Alba, the bodega worker. When we hear from them, that is going to be so powerful, Rudy.
People of America are wonder why he hasn't been fired, and if he's a communist. That's you only do this to your city if you want to destroy America. I would say there are 7,000 to 9,000 people walking the streets now that would have been in jail when I was mayor or Bloomberg was mayor. That is a crime wave. The crime wave is created by Bragg. The attorney in Brooklyn is no different. He just let somebody out who did a vehicular homicide. This is a guy who has a history of drunk driving. Never put him in jail. He finally killed somebody. This is what's going on in my city. People are being killed because of the district attorneys. Same thing in Chicago. Same thing in Philadelphia. Same thing in Atlanta. This is a national problem. Bragg may be the worst, may not. But also, it's a great thing for people to know. This is the kind of guy who indicted the president on what is a non-indictment, Rita. The indictment is deficient as a matter of law. He doesn't charge a crime. He just says the word crime. That is not charging a crime. He has to describe, and he never has, the crime that Trump allegedly was aiding by his false statement.
And, you know, Rudy, you're hitting a perfect point, because in the Trump case, as we know, many people said it's barely a misdemeanor, and he's bumping that up to create this felony. We don't know what the second crime is. And yet here is Alvin Bragg, who has a track record of reducing felonies to misdemeanors by 52% in New York City. I can't wait to watch this week. Rudy, thank you. We love having you here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Rudy.
There's something you said that's really important. You said he charged a felony, but he hasn't described it, hasn't said what it is. Anybody that's taken half a year of criminal law would say that indictment has to be dismissed because it doesn't charge a crime. You can't arrest somebody and say, Rita, you're charged with a crime. Go guess. Guess what the crime is.
No, you're right. And by the way, you know his attorneys are going to be filing motions. Rudy, thank you. We love having you here. Rudy, thank you.